Hey guys, you will remember this room from the exploring the farmhouse video. It was being used as a lounge room, but is really a bedroom. So the plan is to turn it back into a bedroom. So the first thing to do was to take all the things that weren't usable and put them in the mountain of unusable rubbish, and then we uncovered the tatamis and had a bit of a look at them. You can see there's a couple there that are in reasonable condition, but generally pretty terrible. So just sort of show you guys, those of you who haven't seen a tatami from underneath, that's what it looks like. They're actually handmade still, tatami mats. They use machines, of course, to sew them, but by hand. They handheld sewing machine sort of thing, and make them by hand. So there's sort of a board there at the bottom. The board is a base, and then layers, there's sort of cushioning, and then the tatami itself all stitched up. Pretty good. Even when the tatami actual material itself starts to fall apart, the actual tatami mat itself stays in one piece. They're very well made, but not well made enough, so we had to remove them, which left us this floor, which pretty normal under tatami mat. Quite often there's not really much in the way of a floor at all. In this case it's pretty sort of normal, but if you have a look at the thickness of these boards, they are much thinner than my finger, so a few mil. When I walked on them they creaked, and there was a good chance if I jumped I was going to go straight through them. And then they're being supported by these, which are just a few centimeters thick and dressed on the top, or smooth on the top, and you can still see the knots on the underside. That's fairly normal as well. So rough cut timber with that thin board on top. So if I jumped really hard I'd go right through. And then that's supported by these stumps. This is all fairly standard for buildings of this age in Japan. So it's a big rock, it's a stump sitting on a big rock. But if you have a look, it's actually pretty clean. This is sort of a clay base there underneath, and it's all pretty clean. There wasn't even spider webs or signs of rodents or anything. Really super clean. And white ants are a problem in Japan, but there was no white ants either, which is really good. So we then removed the tatami and removed the skirting boards. And because it wasn't really well enough supported, so it needed some more support, so we cut some supports. So see, that's the old style, so we made some more of those to give it a bit more support, because you got me wandering around 100 kilos on top, and this poor unlucky old guy had to get underneath and and put them in place. Oh yeah, just a little side note for people that are into this sort of stuff. Have a look at these guys. This is their sawhorses. So you can see what they are. They're two pieces of plywood put together clicked together like a puzzle. But just to show what the walls, this is how the walls are actually made. So you got bamboo tied together, and then full with mud. So when you're looking at that room and you see the two posts, that's what you're looking at, the two posts, and then you've got basically a clay filling in the middle with the bamboo reinforcement. So it's just too soft, guys. It crumbles, and once it gets old like this, it's great insulation, but it's just impossible to do anything with it once it starts to get soft. There's not really much you can do. So this is really the best solution. It's a little bit sad, but it's the best solution. You get to keep the clay and the insulation that it provides, but you've got to do something with the surface. So this is the best solution. So bond, and then plywood, and then a million nails, because the nails are only going to go into into that clay and into that bamboo. So you've got to put a million nails in there to try and get enough support on it. And this will work. This will stay in place for a long time to come. You know, those walls are solid. They're fine, but it's just the surface of them. When they get old, the surface of them gets really soft and powdery, and there's nothing you can do with it. You can render it. You can render it, but it's not really a long-term solution. This is the most long-term solution you can get. So get to keep. It ends up with a pretty thick wall at the end and really good insulation, sound and temperature. So in the middle of winter when it's -10 outside, we'll still have good insulation to keep us warm. So that was done. So the next job was to lay down some of these. These are about 4 by 4 centimetre lengths. And this is to bring us back, the floor back up to the level that the top of the tatami was, so it lines up with the hall and gives us something square to put the next slot of flooring on, and it also gives us a space where we can put this insulation, and then we put these on the top. So the end result, that insulation is good for sound, and also if it is really cold, the weather's really cold, it gives us good temperature insulation on the floor. And then we put down these sheets. So they look like floorboards, but you guys may have seen these in your own countries. It's not uncommon around the world now, this sort of thing. So a manufactured board made to look like floorboards, but it's not really. But pretty good stuff, fairly durable and easy to wash. And so we could have put down new tatami. Tatami's really expensive. We could have put it down, but it's not really practical. We've got lots of tatami in this house, so we don't really need it in the bedroom. It is nice to sleep on, but it's just really hard to clean. It's really hard to clean and maintain, and you can't put anything heavy on it, which means we can't put cupboards or anything on tatami because, you know, it kills it. So this solution was the best solution to give us a nice solid surface that we can put cupboards and dressing tables and stuff on if we want to. So now we've got the floor done. We cover the floor up to protect it from the paint, and we run around all the wood that's going to be exposed and give it a coating of stain, just because it's looking a bit blotchy, these places where he's had things screwed to it and his 3 clocks and stuff. And that's the end result. After we stain it all, it makes it, you can see what it looked like. That's what it looked like before. It was a bit blotchy, and then we stain it up, make it a bit darker, and then it looks a bit more consistent. Ends up looking like that. Oh, then we found the ceiling was bowing a bit, so we threw some supports just across the paneling on the ceiling, just to make the paneling on the ceiling a bit straighter and squarer, and it worked rather well. And that'll mean that'll be solid for another 10 years too, maybe 20, maybe longer. And then the wallpaper guys sealed up the joins and the nails and the blotchy bits, give them a nice flat surface. And again, you can paint, obviously we can paint now or render or whatever, but wallpaper is really popular in Japan and they're really geared for it. Have a look at this machine. This is awesome. So these guys came in, measured everything up, and then sat there and programmed in all the sizes they wanted, one after another. So one guy was running around with a tape measure, calling out the size. Okay, now we want 254 by 254. And this guy feeds it in, and the machine just feeds through that amount of paper. There it is. Okay, it's finished. He cuts it off, and then he feeds in the next size he wants. So they'd had all the paper cut to size in, 30 minutes. So that result, it's a wallpaper, but it sort of looks like looks like white rendering, which is sort of traditional. So for a farmhouse, we thought it was a good compromise. Watch the speed this guy works. He's the fastest working dude. Check him out. No mucking around. Wish everybody worked that fast. So here's our famous before and after shot. I love my before and after shots, guys. Indulge me. This is what it looked like before. Sort of dark and dingy and dusty and smelly, and walls were flaking off, shedding sand onto the floor all over the place. And then a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears later, it looks like this. Quite an improvement, isn't it? So just need some curtains in there. Some curtains and futon on the floor. And it fit nice. That floor's beautiful to walk on. Nice and firm and be nice and warm. Fabulous. Anyway, hope you found that a little bit interesting. More videos coming soon.